In a quiet, forgotten village, nestled between thick forests and narrow, dusty roads, lived a young girl named Jane. She was just 16, with a heart full of dreams and a soul weighed down by sorrow. Jane had lost both her parents at a tender age. They had died suddenly. No one in the village knew exactly how. Some said it was sickness, others whispered of a curse, but Jane only knew one thing: they were gone, and she was left alone. She lived in a small, old hut that once belonged to her parents. It was built with mud walls and a leaky thatch roof, barely enough to keep the rain out at night. Still, it was the only home she had. Every day, Jane would sweep the dusty floor and arrange the few belongings her parents left behind, trying to keep their memory alive. Though the world moved on, she remained in that little hut, surrounded by silence and pain. Jane was not in school. She had once dreamt of becoming a teacher, someone who would help children learn and grow. But dreams were expensive, and school fees were something she could not afford. Instead, she spent her days hustling, fetching water for villagers, helping them in their farms, and sometimes selling firewood just to earn a little money to eat. Many nights, she went to bed hungry, her stomach rumbling as tears soaked her pillow. Every evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the shadows stretched across the village, Jane would sit outside her hut and pray. She would lift her eyes to the sky and whisper to God, "Please, bring my parents back to me. I miss them so much. Why did you take them away and leave me here to suffer alone?" Her cries were soft, but filled with pain. She felt abandoned, not just by the world, but by life itself. Still, she never stopped praying, never stopped hoping that somehow, some way, her life would change. Jane was a beauty, so radiant that even the wind seemed to pause when she walked by. Her skin was smooth like polished bronze, her eyes deep and kind, and her smile, though rare, could light up even the darkest day. Men in the village couldn't help but notice her. Every time she stepped out, they would stop and stare, some even following her with empty promises and charming words. "Jane, you're too beautiful to suffer like this," they would say. "Let me take care of you." Another would offer, flashing a crooked smile. But Jane knew better. She saw through their sweet words. She could feel their real intentions behind their flattery. They didn't want to help her. They wanted to defile her innocence and walk away, leaving her even more broken than before. Jane had made a promise to herself and to God. She would not give herself to any man until marriage. Her purity was one of the few things she had left, and she guarded it fiercely. So no matter how many men came with gifts, smiles, or lies, Jane kept her distance. She would simply walk past them, her head held high, her heart focused on surviving one more day. But deep inside, she was tired. Tired of the hunger, tired of the loneliness, tired of pretending to be strong. She didn't know it yet, but her story was about to change. Sandra, Jane's only friend, was a quiet and gentle girl. Unlike others in the village, she understood Jane's pain. Sandra often went into the forest alone, sitting under a big tree where the wind whispered through the leaves. That place gave her peace, away from the noise, away from judgment. She would sit there for hours, talking to herself, thinking deeply about life, and praying silently to God to change her situation. One evening, Jane decided to join Sandra in the forest. She had been feeling overwhelmed again. Her heart was heavy, and her soul was tired. The forest, she believed, could help her breathe. She walked quietly to the big tree, her and Sandra's secret place. But Sandra wasn't there that day. Jane sat alone, resting her head against the trunk. She closed her eyes and began to pray. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a mad man appeared from the bushes. His clothes were torn, his hair rough, and his eyes wild. Before Jane could understand what was happening, he grabbed her. "Please," she screamed, struggling with all her strength. She cried out for help again and again, but no one came. The forest was too far from the village, and her voice was swallowed by the silence of the trees. The madman forced himself on her, crossing a line she had fought all her life to protect. When he was done, he left her on the ground, broken and trembling, and disappeared back into the forest. Jane was devastated. She lay there, crying like a child. The pain was not just physical, it was deeper, a wound in her heart. She kept saying, "Why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this?" When she returned to her hut that night, she couldn't sleep. Her mind was filled with shame, fear, and pain. For days she didn't talk to anyone. She stopped eating, and at night she would cry until she could cry no more. Weeks passed, and one morning, Jane woke up feeling strange. She felt weak and dizzy. Her body had changed. Then the truth hit her like a storm. She was pregnant. Pregnant for the madman. She felt her world crash again. How can I live with this? How can I carry the child of a man who hurt me? What will people say? She began to think of ending her life. She thought it was better to die than to live in shame, alone and judged by the world. That night, as she held a rope in her trembling hands, planning to hang herself, something strange happened. She saw a light in her hut, and in that light stood her mother. "Jane," her mother said softly, "my beautiful child, do not take your life." Jane fell to the ground in tears. "Mama, I'm tired, I'm ashamed, I can't carry this pain anymore. That madman has taken everything from me." Her mother walked closer, glowing with peace. "No, my child, you may not understand now, but this pain will not last forever. Your sorrow will turn to joy." Jane looked up at her mother. "How, Mama? How can anything good come out of this?" Her mother smiled gently. "Just wait and see. Trust God. What looks like the end is only the beginning. The child you carry will bring light into this dark world." Then, like smoke in the wind, her mother disappeared. Jane sat alone in the hut, thinking. Her tears slowed down. Her heart was still heavy, but for the first time in weeks, she felt a small drop of hope. Maybe, just maybe, her story wasn't over. As the months passed, Jane's pregnancy began to show. Her belly grew round, and with it, the whispers in the village grew louder. Everywhere she went, villagers mocked her. "Shameless girl," some would say. "She couldn't even wait for marriage," others added, shaking their heads. "Who gets pregnant for a madman?" They laughed. But Jane kept walking, even when the insults pierced her heart. Each time they mocked her, she remembered her mother's words. "Your sorrow will turn to joy." Those words became her strength. She would whisper them to herself whenever tears filled her eyes. She believed, somehow, something good would still happen. One quiet afternoon, as Jane sat alone in her small hut, weeping softly, she suddenly heard a knock at her door. Wiping her tears quickly, she opened the door and froze. Standing before her was a tall, handsome man dressed in a fine suit. He looked rich, clean, and important. Jane had never seen him before. "Good afternoon," he said kindly. "Yes, good afternoon," Jane replied, confused. The man smiled. "Jane, it's me, Leo." Jane's eyes widened. "Leo, the madman?" He nodded. "Yes, but I was never mad, Jane. I was only pretending." Jane stumbled back in shock, unable to speak. Leo stepped into the hut and sat down gently. "Let me explain everything," he said. He told her that he was a billionaire businessman based in the United States. He had returned to his home country to study human behavior for a secret project. He wanted to see how people treated those they thought were mad or useless. He went around in rags, acting mad, until the day he met Jane in the forest. "I lost control that day," he said, bowing his head in regret. "I hurt you in a way I never should have, and for that I am truly sorry." Jane's eyes filled with tears again, but this time, not of pain, of confusion and wonder. "I came back because I found out you're pregnant. I want to make things right. I want to marry you and take care of you and our baby. I want you to come with me to the United States and live the life you deserve." Jane was speechless. Could this really be happening? Then she remembered her mother's words again. "Your sorrow will turn to joy." She nodded slowly, her heart pounding with a strange new feeling, happiness. Soon after, Leo organized the grandest wedding the village had ever seen. People came from far and near. Those who once mocked Jane were now cheering and dancing at her wedding. They couldn't believe it. Jane, the poor orphan girl, now the wife of a billionaire. The celebration was like a dream. Jane wore a flowing white dress, her smile shining brighter than the sun. Leo stood beside her proudly, promising to love and protect her for the rest of his life. After the wedding, Jane and Leo flew to the United States, where they began a new life. Jane was treated like a queen, and she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Joy, because that's what the child brought into her life. Moral lessons. 1. Never look down on anyone. You don't know their story or what they are going through. 2. God can turn any pain into joy. No matter how dark the night is, morning will always come. 3. Hold on to hope. Even when the world turns against you, never stop believing in your future. 4. Everyone has a purpose. No matter how broken your past is, you can still rise and shine. To my wonderful viewers, thank you so much for watching this story. I hope it touched your heart and inspired you to keep believing in yourself, no matter what life throws at you. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share this story if it blessed you. And most importantly, subscribe to my channel for more powerful, emotional, and life-changing stories like this one. Your support means the world to me. Stay tuned and stay blessed. Thank you, and God bless you.